Reynolds' introduction into the bicycle market came in 1935 when Alfred Reynolds introduced butted tubing and the now world famous 531 tubing. This continued unchanged until 1975 when Reynolds introduced the 753 set, which still has no superior in the bicycle industry. The history of Reynolds was predominantly in the racing market, where in the last 34 years Reynolds have been first past the post 27 times in the Tour de France. What we're going to look at now is the process of turning the plain tube into the finished butted and tapered components that appear on your finished bicycle. Once the tube is ready to be turned into bicycle components, it has to be very clean, inside and out. The process you now see shows the tube being cleaned through acid, water, and subsequently through vats containing a soap-type solution which adheres to the tube and helps in lubrication of the product in the later processes. The first major process we're going to see is butting. Double butting is when we take the tube and make it thicker at each end for extra strength at the joints and thin in the centre of the tube where less strength is required, and you get a weight advantage. The first operation shows a tube being put over a bar which is shaped small at each end and quite large in the centre. The bar is pushed through a die and extends to almost double its original length. As the material goes through the die, the material takes the shape of the bar in its centre and ends up thicker at each end. This means it won't slide off. So the bar is taken to a machine known as a reeler. The pressure from the wheels causes the material to spring and it grows sufficient for the bar to be pulled out of the centre. During this process, the raw material, which starts life in the softened condition at around 30 to 35 tonnes tensile, work hardens and ends up in the 50 to 52 tonnes which we would expect for a normal high quality racing frame. Here the tubes are straightened to the length over 1000, which is a very straight tolerance for bicycles. Subsequently the tubes are polished. The polishing enhances the presentation of the product and also enables Reynolds to inspect to see if there is any dirty material or surface defect which might show up in the paintwork of a finished bicycle. The machine we now see automatically takes the tubes and cuts them to the required length. Because high-speed cutters are used, the tube ends up with a very heavy phrase on the end. And the back end of the machine, you will see the tube going through wire brushes which remove this phrase so there is no damage to the builder in cut fingers and cut hands as he's building the frame.
So that's your basic tube, which then goes through the final stages such as threading the steerer tube, tapering the tubes for forks and stays by cold working it in a die. They may then be reheated to enable doming of the ends prior to a slot being milled for the dropouts. They are also overlised to whatever degree is required using a press and die, or bent for the forks. Just like that. Thus you end up with 11 tubes as well as the handlebars that go into making your bike. Add a bit of suspension to it and it could look like these. So, back to the racing and the European Championships